This story is called The Last Patient. It is a gripping psychological thriller that explores the thin boundary between reality and madness, leading you through a maze of suspense, twists, and chilling revelations. Let us start with Chapter 1, which is called The First Session. Dr. Sarah White, known as Sally to her closest friends and colleagues, had always taken pride in her ability to maintain a calm, composed demeanour, no matter the severity of her patients' issues. Her office, a sanctuary of soft lighting and neutral tones, was designed to put even the most anxious minds at ease. But today, as she sat at her mahogany desk, flipping through the thin file of her new patient, a chill ran down her spine. Justin Walker. The name was ordinary enough, but the details in his intake form were anything but. Severe paranoia, claims of being stalked by an unseen figure, insomnia, hallucinations, persistent fear. His previous therapists had all either referred him out or, in one case, abruptly closed their practice. There were notes about his erratic behaviour, but nothing concrete. No history of violence, no criminal record, just a growing list of fears that seemed to consume him. Sarah closed the file, her fingers lingering on the cover. Something about this case was different. The kind of different that made her pulse quicken, a mix of professional curiosity and an instinctive sense of foreboding. She had dealt with paranoia before, but there was a weight to this case that she couldn't quite shake. Her receptionist's voice crackled over the intercom. "Dr. Sarah, your 3 p.m. is here. Justin Walker." Sarah took a deep breath, pushing aside the unease that had settled in her chest. "Thank you, Nancy. Send him in." The door opened slowly, and Justin Walker stepped into the room. He was tall and gaunt, his skin pale as if he hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, which darted around the room as if searching for unseen threats. His clothes hung loosely on his frame, and his hands trembled slightly as he sat down in the chair opposite Sarah. "Mr. Walker," she began, offering a reassuring smile. "It's nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Sarah White." Justin nodded, but his eyes never settled on her. They kept flickering to the corners of the room as though something might leap out at any moment. He swallowed hard before speaking, his voice hoarse and whispery. "Thank you for seeing me, Dr. Sarah. I don't know how much longer I can take this." Sarah leaned forward, her gaze steady. "Why don't you start by telling me what's been happening?" He hesitated, his fingers twisting together in his lap. It's everywhere I go, this feeling, like someone's watching me. No, not just watching, hunting me. I can't see them, but I know they're there. I can feel them. Every time I close my eyes, I see shadows. They're always just out of reach, but they're there, waiting. Sarah scribbled a few notes, her face neutral. "When did this start?" "A few months ago," Justin replied, his voice trembling. "I was living my life, doing everything like normal. But then, it started. Little things at first. A noise in my apartment when no one was there, a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. Then it got worse. I started losing time. I'd wake up in places I didn't remember going. I thought I was going crazy. Maybe I am." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Sarah felt a pang of empathy. His fear was palpable, a raw wound that had been festering for too long. "Have you experienced any hallucinations?" she asked gently. Justin nodded, a quick, jerky motion. "Yes, but not the kind you'd think. It's more like they're real. I see things, hear things, but they're real, Dr. Sarah. I know they are." "What kinds of things?" Justin's eyes darted to the window, the corners of his mouth twitching. "I hear whispers. They tell me things, horrible things, and sometimes I see people who aren't there, people who look like they've been hurt, but they're gone before I can really see them. It's like they're trying to show me something. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine, but she kept her expression calm. "Have you told anyone else about these experiences?" "No," he said quickly, almost too quickly. "I don't think they'd believe me. Or worse, they might think I'm dangerous, but I'm not. I swear I'm not." "Justin," Sarah began, choosing her words carefully, "have you noticed any patterns, times or places where these feelings are stronger?" His hands clenched into fists. "At night. It's always worse at night. And in places where I'm alone. Like they're waiting for me to be vulnerable. That's when they come closer." Sarah nodded, jotting down his words. "I want to help you, Justin. But to do that, we need to work together to understand what's happening. Have you considered keeping a journal? Writing down when these feelings or visions occur?" Justin shook his head, a haunted look crossing his face. No, I can't. What if they find it? What if they know I'm trying to figure them out?" "Who, Justin?" Sarah pressed softly. "Who do you think is after you?" His eyes locked onto hers, wide and filled with terror. "I don't know," he whispered, "but they're dangerous, and they're close. Closer than you think." The words hung in the air between them, thick with dread. Sarah felt the familiar prickle of unease along the back of her neck, but she forced herself to remain composed. This was just another case, she told herself. A severe case of paranoia, perhaps even schizophrenia. But the rational part of her mind couldn't shake the feeling that Justin's fears were rooted in something much darker. As the session drew to a close, Sarah handed Justin a prescription for a mild sedative to help him sleep, and suggested they meet twice a week for therapy. He took the prescription with trembling hands, muttering his thanks before leaving her office. But even after he was gone, the oppressive weight of his fear lingered in the room. Sarah sat back in her chair, staring at the door through which Justin had just exited. Her mind buzzed with the implications of what he had told her. The images of his haunted eyes burned into her memory. She tried to push the thoughts aside, to focus on her next patient, but they clung to her like a shadow. There was something off about Justin's case, something that didn't quite fit into any of the psychological patterns she had encountered before. As she gathered her things at the end of the day, preparing to head home, she paused. Her eyes flicked to the window, where the twilight was beginning to settle over the city. She could see her reflection in the glass, but just beyond that, she could have sworn she saw something move in the darkness. She shook her head, telling herself it was nothing, just her mind playing tricks on her after a long day. But as she stepped out into the evening air, a cold breeze whispered through the empty streets, and for the first time in her career, Dr. Sarah White felt the unsettling prick of fear. As she walked to her car, she glanced over her shoulder. The street was empty, but the feeling of being watched stayed with her all the way home. Chapter 2 would pick up with Sarah beginning to dig deeper into Justin's past, uncovering the first hints of the unsolved murders he might be connected to. But even as she investigates, strange occurrences begin to plague her own life, leaving her questioning her own sanity.